All right. So here's the hourly chart, 30-day. This is the euro, right? And what we're going to do is remember that the euro is now in an uptrend, so it's presumably giving us, up signals. And what I do is something that I think is a little bit unusual from how most people kind of look at indicators. Remember, I trade momentum, so I sort of turn everything upside down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay down the RSI 14-period moving average, the standard setting, right? I'm just going to change the color to black. I'm going to make it a little medium so you guys can see the whole thing. I'm going to lay it over the hourly chart, right? And my setup is very simple. It's a 24-hour day setup. There is no time filter on it. I try to trade this on a 24-hour basis, and of course I miss a lot of trades. Sometimes I miss them and I'm happy. Sometimes I miss them, and of course they turn positive. I'll show you a couple of winners and a couple of losers along the way. But the key underlying pivot is the following. What I'm looking for, most people basically look at RSI and say, oh, I want to sell when it goes to 70. I want to buy when it drops below 30, because they view it as an overbought, oversold indicator. I actually view it the exact opposite. To me, when it approaches towards the 70 level, that means there's a massive amount of interest in the particular currency, and I want to be buyer. Generally, the underlying thesis of what I do is I buy to sell higher, and I sell low to sell lower. This is very, very hard for a lot of people to do because most people naturally are bargain hunters. But what you will find in the currency market is that positive action begets positive action, negative action begets negative action, more so than the other way around. And if you can reorient yourself mentally towards buying highs and selling lows with a proper risk-reward structure and the proper stop-loss functions and good entries, I think you have a reasonable chance of doing very well. I certainly have been doing really well with the RSI Bungie, and I know a lot of people who follow me do very well with it. And there's a lot of different permutations that we trade in particular trade. So I'm just giving you sort of the basic one today, which I think is really simple. So let's imagine. Remember, we said that the euro has been in an uptrend since the 19th, right? Because we looked at the charts before. Now, today in the room, I'm going to actually reveal a couple of wrinkles to you that will make the RSI Bungie jump better and more efficient as a setup than what most people have been trading. So the trigger in the RSI Bungie jump, the way I've sort of been describing it is 65 or better, I'm a buyer. In other words, once RSI goes to 65 or better, I'm a buyer. Or once it goes to 35 or lower, I'm a seller. But in truth, what I actually have been doing is I'm adjusting my RSI values to 64 or better. In other words, if the RSI on the hourly, and let me give you an example. Let's look at it at a hardcore example. So where are we? So here we go. So blah, blah, blah. So we know that euro is in the uptrend on 420, right? RSI 57, RSI 57, RSI 64.22. Okay, everybody sees this candle. I'm actually going to mark this candle so you guys can see it. It's this candle over here. So the hourly candle ends at 64.22, not quite 65, okay? I love this entry. This is what I've been doing. I actually, if it's 64 instead of 65 or above, it gives me an early look into a possible momentum burst, right? So I'm long at 31.70. Let's call it 31.70 on the close with a target of 3,200. Obviously, the thing hits very, easily over the next hour, and a stop at 50. The reason why this works, I find this works a lot better, is because very often you will get this momentum, the actual profit momentum happens on the candle right after the 64 trade. So if you had waited longer, if we had waited longer on this particular candle, this next candle registers a reading of 70. Still, I think a valid entry, and you could have entered here, and you still would have been able to squeeze out additional 30 points. But the key thing with the RSI setup is that you always want to squeeze out the early 30 points. You always want to be as early as possible into the momentum move. So in this particular case, very nice, very smooth, very easy trade right up into a 30-point profit. Now let's take a look at this particular trade. This is a trade where, again, RSI is 64.35. Again, above 34. Yes. Somebody, Robert is asking a very, very good question. I always, I don't know how many times I can tell this to you, but I really hope you remember it. Always wait for the candle to close. Because remember, it's not a signal unless it completes. What happens very often is you'll get this sort of intra-candle enthusiasm, but if by the end of the candle the thing just does not have enough momentum to stay at the upper end of the candle and hold a 64 value or better, then that means whatever the underlying buying action is going on, it's really not that strong enough. There's enough doubt, there's enough uncertainty within the price action the market is displaying that I don't want to participate in that trade. So yes, I always want to wait. And yes, waiting for the candle to close, you sometimes obviously, miss the big moves that occur in the candle. You miss the big bursts. But in this particular case, it doesn't matter. It's better to sort of buy up and be more certain than buy intra-candle and then see a reversal going your way. Because a lot of times what you'll see this incredible burst, and then intra-candle you get a reversal, and the candle actually turns into a shooting star, which is the death knell of this setup.